If everyone could please move toward your seats. If you could please move toward your seats so we can get started. Thank you all very much. My name is Michael Strickland, and I am the chair of the Leadership Knoxville Alumni Council. On behalf of Leadership Knoxville and all of our sponsors, I would like to thank all of you for taking the time to come today. This is the 6th annual Mayor's Leadership Luncheon, hosted by Mayor Madeline Ruggiero and Mayor Tim Burchett, and sponsored by Scripps Interactive Networks. I'm a graduate of the 2006 class. Somewhere on the screen is meant to be a picture of me. There we go. I'm supposed to tell you that's a younger me, but I think I look just about the same anyway, much more handsome. That's a throwback headshot to when I was in the class. I'm currently the Alumni Advisory Council chair, which makes me the event chair for this event. When I signed up for the job, I had no idea what was in the job description, so the ability to do this today is just sort of a little added bonus. And speaking of job descriptions, I'd like to ask each of you one question. Who's running your companies right now? We've got the best and the brightest leaders in Knoxville in this room, so it's a little frightening to think what might be going on. But I know that we all have good people and the companies are in good hands. At this time, I would like to thank all of the Leadership Knoxville alumni and staff for the support and investment in the organization. Our community wouldn't be the same without what all of you do. I would also like to thank all of you that are the table hosts that agreed to purchase the table, because this event, as you know, is a major source of funding for Leadership Knoxville. And I want to thank you for the investment that you made in purchasing a table. For those of you that received multiple communications from me, I apologize, and I doubly thank you for buying a table. There are a lot of wonderful other people, and they're listed in the program. We've got a lot of good sponsors and good friends and good people, and if you take a moment and look at the program and see who all sponsors the program, I would be grateful. If you could, for a moment, please join me, and let's give a hand to all the sponsors and all the supporters of Leadership Knoxville. Again, thank you for all that you do, and remember, a rising tide floats all boats, and more importantly, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right. So in that spirit, I would like to introduce to you Reverend Ben Lewis, graduate of the Leadership Knoxville class of 2014 and senior staff chaplain at the UT Medical Center. Ben will give us the invocation. Ben?
Friends, let us pray. Our gracious and loving God, we are so thankful that you have allowed us to be here for this time of celebration. We're grateful for the wonderful leadership here, our great governor, our mayors, and all who are gathered here, all who you've called to lead your people. We realize that you've called us to lead, but you said that if anyone would be first, they must be last and the very servant of all. So we do pray today that you would guide our hands, our hearts, and our feet, that we may be a blessing to your people. Thank you for all the many ways that you bless our lives. It is in your loving and glorious name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ben and Michael. I would like to personally thank Michael Strickland as the event chair for all of his hard work, making my job pretty easy today, except that I'm not completely sure of who is running Knoxville right now. Everyone's here. So, Leadership Knoxville likes to make all of its events filled with great gathering and a great opportunity for folks to network and get to know one another, and we hope that you've had some time to do that today. But also, we like to make them fun. And so I'm sure you're going to have a little bit of fun today, and I can already tell you that there are some surprises in order. Tammy and I have been reviewing the evolving agenda for this past weekend, and as late or as recently as last evening, and we continue to make a few tweaks based upon some great opportunities to expose you to some additional folks. And so we're happy and hope that you will enjoy that today. My name is Tim Young. I think there's a headshot somewhere. Just like Michael mentioned earlier, it's a dated throwback kind of picture. That was me back in 2003 when I was in Leadership Knoxville, and you can see I've lost lots of hair, not just facial hair, but other hair since then as well. So all of you need to understand, though, that are on the agenda for later. I assure you that there will be embarrassing photos of you as well. So just bear with us. On behalf of Leadership Knoxville, I would also like to thank the alumni and the guests for coming today as we celebrate 31 years of Leadership Knoxville. It's incredible when you think about it. Last year was 30 years. We're already moving forward with 31 years of an organization that's made such a profound impact on our community. I would like to recognize our present board members for all that they do. This year's officers are Jimmy Cheek, Joan Cronin, Mike Parton, Mike Strickland, Scott Broyles, Lawrence Tullock, Rosa Marr, Susan Edwards, Tybee Small, Bob Petrone, Heidi Barkus, John Fawaz, and Anita Lane. Will all of those officers and members of this year's board please stand, and we will recognize them with a round of applause. These folks show up and get it done, so we're really pleased that they're a part of the process here. Additionally, I would also like to recognize the Leadership Knoxville staff, but before I call them by name and ask that they stand as well, if you've worked with these folks, you know how dedicated they are to the mission and to the objectives of Leadership Knoxville. Not only is that emulated in how they perform their work, but clearly the commitment to doing great things is evident throughout all of my interaction with them. And so I was having a brief conversation with someone before this session began, and we were talking about just that it's a small group of dedicated people who really make a tremendous impact. And there's not a harder working group of a small group in this city. And so I would like to recognize them and ask that they stand as well. Tammy White, President and CEO. Daryl Brady, Vice President of Programs and Operations. Sandy Swilley, Program Director. Samantha Edwards, Office Manager and Program Assistant. And Emily DeJarnett, who is the Knoxville Fellow. Could join me in recognizing these folks to keep us all organized and assure that we get these things done. I think most of you are aware that there were 3 organizations who were really instrumental in the formation of Leadership Knoxville, and they serve as founding partners, partner organizations. There should be a slide here that shows these Knoxville Chamber, the Junior League of Knoxville, and the United Way of Greater Knoxville. Let's also thank these folks for their support in making Leadership Knoxville possible. And lastly, in terms of recognition and thanks, before we get to the program, we'd also like to thank the Knoxville Convention Center and staff. We've got alumni here who understand the importance of these events. This event has 1,000 attendees this year, and you can appreciate just from a logistics standpoint what a commitment and an endeavor it is to coordinate an event with the kinds of attendees that you're going to see later as well. So let's thank the Knoxville Convention Center and their staff and their partnership with us. Okay, not only do we have the leadership, the Mayor's Leadership Luncheon, in which we have guests who come in, we also use this venue and this opportunity to extend congratulations to this year's class, and so I want to begin by doing that as well. Today, we celebrate more than 1,300 graduates of Leadership Knoxville and more than 1,200 graduates of Introduction Knoxville. We are thrilled to have just graduated our first class of Youth Leadership Knoxville with 33 juniors from 14 area high schools. And we just concluded our second year of the Leadership Knoxville Scholars Program in conjunction with the University of Tennessee. Some of whom you have met as they assisted in serving Leadership Knoxville by guiding you to your tables and assisting with the program. These overall programs have one overarching goal. That is to keep our best and brightest students in the region upon graduation. We are now impacting leaders throughout the spectrum of life, which is a bit of the change that was made in the last strategic planning process, is to continue a continuity of leadership development throughout all phases of community. And we are impacting leaders from youth to seniors, and hope that our work will continue to make a positive difference in Knoxville for the next 31 years. I am very proud of this organization and what it's achieved in those 30 years. As you know, every event comes with its list of last-minute changes, and as I alluded to earlier, today is no exception. I would like to ask Mayor Madeline O'Hara to join me on stage to introduce a special guest who is visiting Knoxville for the day.
Thank you, Tim, and good morning, everyone. You know, I get a lot of surprises in my job. It's always nice when they're good surprises. So last week we received a good surprise, a phone call from Washington, D.C., letting us know that U.S. Secretary of Transportation Anthony Foxx wanted to visit Knoxville today to talk about some of our local infrastructure projects. I said, great, we would love to host him. I also said, you know, while he's here, there's a little group getting together for lunch. Would he like to drop by? The governor will be here. His good friend, the mayor of Sacramento, will be here. And 1,000 of our closest friends will be here. He accepted our invitation. And it's really appropriate that he is here at the mayor's leadership luncheon. You see, before he was Secretary of Transportation, Anthony Foxx was the mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina, the youngest mayor ever elected there. And before that, he was a city council member. So he knows a lot about leadership and what it takes to really get things done at the local level. Secretary Foxx had a great meeting this morning with mayors and staff of our regional transportation planning organization, talking about how important infrastructure is to everything we do as leaders of our cities and counties and our state as well, right, Governor? We talked about how this isn't a partisan issue. Everybody needs roads, everybody needs bridges, and we all need transit. I know he can't stay long. He actually has to catch a flight to Memphis. But please join me in listening to a few words from U.S. Secretary of Transportation Anthony Foxx.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here in Knoxville. I am particularly grateful for the presence and the company of great leaders here in this region as well as in the state of Tennessee. I want to say a special word of acknowledgement to Governor Bill Haslam, who is here with his dad, who started this incredible organization. Let's give them a round of applause. To Mayor O'Hara and to Mayor Burchett, I want to thank you so much, and to Mayor Johnson, who you'll hear from later. Folks, I'm just a warm-up act. He's the real deal, and he'll deliver a message that you will never forget. I know him. That's what he does. So I'm here in Tennessee. Actually, this is my first time back in Knoxville since the World's Fair in 1982. Changed a little bit. But one thing in the course of changes that we've seen, not only here in Knoxville, but also across the country, is that as we celebrate Infrastructure Week, we really aren't at a place as a country where we're celebrating our infrastructure. We're really celebrating what we've done, and we need to focus more on the future of things that we should be doing and can do as a country. As we celebrate Infrastructure Week, we are less than 20 days until the funding source that supports our highways and our transit systems across the country will expire, at which time we will be unable to provide even the few resources we do to states that require these monies to put in road projects and bridges and other things across the country. And so Infrastructure Week this week sort of coincides with a national crisis. The crisis is even deeper in regions like the Southeast, where we are today, where over the next 30 years, much of the 70 million people population growth that we're going to experience as a country, much of that growth is going to happen right here in the Southeast. So travel times that are 20 minutes today can become 40 minutes. The roads can become more congested. In fact, we're expecting to see 65% more trucks on the roads over the next 30 years. And one of the reasons why I wanted to come down here to Knoxville is because here you've got projects that are on your to-do list that you want to get done. This morning I heard about the Alcoa Highway, a project that's on the books right now. It's got several phases, but only one is ready for construction. You've got design work that's being done. But one of the problems is that the federal government's resources aren't certain. And so it's hard for the state to move forward. And in fact, Tennessee joins 5 other states that are pulling back close to $2 billion of projects because of federal funding uncertainty. So ladies and gentlemen, this is Leadership in Knoxville. When I go back to Washington, I'm going to tell them about the plans you have for this great community, the things you want to build and you want to see happen, and urge our Congress towards leading America to invest in infrastructure in the ways that we need to. The fact of the matter is we could pass a bill called the Grow America Act that would dramatically increase our investment in infrastructure. $478 billion over the next 6 years, 29% increase for highways, 70% increase for transit, putting intercity passenger rail back in our surface systems, and building America and creating jobs and preparing the country for the jobs of the future. So we can do this, but we can't do it by ourselves. It requires you all working together to build the vision that you have for Knoxville. Your mayors are doing that job, your governor is doing that job, and the courageous work of both your governor and your state DOT director to identify what will not happen if federal funding doesn't come about is so critical. So I just want to urge you, when you're sitting in traffic later on today, or when you happen to ride over a pothole that ruins your suspension, or you see pieces of bridges that crumble down to the roadway below, or you see a connection between your community and the rest of the global economy that is sitting on a planning book someplace not being done, I want you to think about the fact that infrastructure is one of the things we as a society do together. No one of us can build the infrastructure we need by ourselves. And that's why it takes an act of Congress to help us build this country in the way that Abraham Lincoln built the Transcontinental Railroad, or that Eisenhower established the interstate highway system. That's why it takes leadership here at the state and local level. You're doing your part, but I just ask you to raise your voices and make sure we're doing our part in Washington. Thank you very much. Enjoy this incredible luncheon. Thank you for your leadership, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Secretary Fox. Now, please join me in welcoming from the class of 1994, Pam Fansler. I think a headshot's about to be there. There we go. The president of First Tennessee Bank and graduation sponsor for this year's class of 2015. I warned you about the photos, didn't I?
Thank you, Tim. And good afternoon, everyone. As Tim said, I've lost some hair, like my also preceding presenters have. But good afternoon. I bring you greetings from my First Tennessee colleagues, several of whom are Leadership Knoxville graduates and are here today. The First Tennessee Foundation is proud to be the graduation sponsor for the 2015 class of Leadership Knoxville. Founded in 1864, First Tennessee is committed to the customers and the communities that we serve. Since its founding in 1993, the First Tennessee Foundation has donated more than $55 million to help meet community needs, and our employees volunteer numerous hours to help serve nonprofit organizations in our communities. Leadership Knoxville follows a curriculum that is based on the 7 pillars of servant leadership. A servant leader is a person of character, someone who puts people first, a skilled communicator, and a compassionate collaborator. A servant leader has foresight, is a system thinker, and leads with moral authority. This year's class had the opportunity to observe and practice the 7 pillars of servant leadership while delving into the following topics: media and communication during a day hosted at Scripps Networks Interactive, education, community health, diversity and inclusion, arts and culture, economic development, advanced energy during a visit to ORNL and Y12, and state government during a visit to Nashville. The 49 graduates of this year's Leadership Knoxville class of 2015 made a significant personal and professional commitment to learn about our community and develop the skills that will produce exceptional servant leaders. We want to recognize Scott Broyles for his leadership as the Curriculum Committee Chair. Scott, would you stand, please? Thank you. Congratulations to the class of 2015. As I read your name, please stand and remain standing. Audience, please hold your applause until all class members have been recognized. Jeff Allen, Executive Vice President, Great West Casualty Company. Nate Allen, Deputy Chief, Knoxville Police Department. David Alt, Vice President, Programs, Knoxville Leadership Foundation. Tom Berg, Director, R&D, Y12 National Security Complex. Jim Biggs, Executive Director, Knoxville Entrepreneur Center. David Brace, Director, Public Service Department, City of Knoxville. Daniel Brown, Councilman, 6th District, City of Knoxville. Chris Caldwell, Senior Director of Finance, Knox County Government. Dino Cartwright, Vice President, Promotion and Marketing, WVLT Volunteer TV. Justin Kazana, Principal, Cushman & Wakefield, Cornerstone. Karen Clark, CIO, Ortho, Tennessee. Kelly Conley, President, Universal Properties. Mindy Coulter, Director, Knoxville Chapter, National League of Junior Cotillions. Anton Davis, Coordinator, Vol for Life, University of Tennessee. Chrissy D'Alejandro, Executive Director, Tennessee Achieves. Cindy DeBusk, Owner, CGS Group, LLC. Preston Faribault, President, Asprey Design Studios. Dean Farmer, Partner, Hodges, Dowdy & Carson. Gay Fortner, President and CEO, Healthcare 21 Business Coalition. Vicki Fulmer, Director, Cornerstone Community Bank. Renee Gard, Vice President of Diagnostics and Therapeutics, Summit Medical Group. Michelle Harden, Senior Vice President and Manager, Private Client Medical Services, First Tennessee Bank. Shannon Harper, Vice President, Harper Auto Square. George Hashberger Jr., CEO, Quinium Advisors. Susie Hawk, as Senior Vice President and Regional Director, The Trust Company. Neil Heatherly, CEO, Tenova Healthcare. Cheryl Henderson, East Tennessee Historical Society. Becky Huckabee, Vice President, Public Relations, Metropolitan Knoxville Airport Authority. Jimmy Himes, Sports Director, Cumulus Broadcasting. Richard Jansen, President and Owner, Monaco Industries. Joanne Lavender, President and CEO, Leadership by Design. Doug Lawyer, Vice President of Economic Development, the Knoxville Chamber. Gail Lewis, Chief Audit Executive, UT Battelle. Ted Lewis, Vice President, Academic Affairs, Pellissippi State Community College. Justin Meyerhofer, Vice President, Government Relations, Tennessee Valley Authority. Lou Moran III, President, Interagency Insurance Service. Jordana Nelson, General Counsel, Lawler Wood Housing Partners. Roger Noe, Director of Social Services, Knox County Public Defenders, CLO. Rosie Noriega, Chair, Latino Task Force. Angela Nystrom, Attorney. Davis Overton, Vice President, White Realty. David Pinkney, Executive Chef, Cherokee Country Club. Judith Rosenberg, Senior Director, Brand and Resource Management, Girl Scouts of Southern Appalachias. Eric Schwarzentraub, Senior Vice President, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. Lisa Hood Skinner, Marketing and Branding Strategist. Nikita Thompson, Agent, Realty Executives. Crystal Washington, Senior Vice President, External Relations and Vendor Management, Scripps Networks Interactive. Brian Welch, Senior Vice President, Financial Advisor, Morgan Stanley. And John Mark Wiggers, Rector at St. James Episcopal Church. Please join me in congratulating the 2015 graduates of Leadership Knoxville.
Thank you, Pam. I think you had an equally tough job reading all those names and all the titles, but great job to that class. I've had the pleasure of interacting with them a couple of times this year, and they're a great group. Too often I am asked, what does Leadership Knoxville do? We help community leaders with really primarily 4 objectives: community understanding, relationship building, leadership skills, and civic engagement. But above all of those activities and steps that we take, we are seeking most of all to instill the values of servant leadership in our community. To help tell our story, we have developed a special video presentation. Last year, as you know, we gave back a gift of a video that really was about the community as a whole. Any organization could use it for the purpose of their promotion and marketing of our region. This year's video is a little bit different. It's going to, I think, speak more to the testimonials of the impact that Leadership Knoxville is making across all of the programs that it provides. And so if you would direct your attention to the screen, please.
The agency works with 13 to 18-year-old adolescents for the most part in residential. And these young people have situations in their home life, and they've had abuse and neglect and substance abuse issues. One of the biggest things that I think is sitting in my office and watching them get out of a car with a big black trash bag really breaks my heart. I said, what are we telling these young people? That they have to put their belongings in a hefty, large black trash bag?
Going through Leadership Knoxville, you kind of figure out The community is bigger than the individual, and we're going to figure out a way to leverage our resources to make the community better as opposed to kind of a me, me, me thing.
In 1984, a small group of leaders came together to form Leadership Knoxville. They had one common desire: to leave our community better than they found it. Our vision is every leader a servant leader. We do this by building people and building groups to create a leaderful community.
We started the program in the summer, like the year-long program does, and it really absolutely captivated me. There were so many things about Knoxville that I didn't know. And I'd already lived here about 15 years when I first entered the program. And I think this idea of bringing people together to learn about the needs of the community, to learn about the other people in the community that are leaders is really the largest benefit that the program has.
I think that it gave me the courage to go serve. I needed to know that I could serve out in the community among my peers and show up and serve in just about any organization as a servant leader.
Leadership Knoxville is the founding organization for Volunteer Knoxville. It's the legacy gift to our community. When the committee first started meeting, we wanted to do something that was more than just a one-shot deal. And so we decided that this is something that we'll continue to give to the community forever. And it's grown beyond everybody's imagination. We currently have more than 100 organizations signed up and thousands of people in the community that are volunteering. So it's really done a lot more than what we ever imagined.
After completing Leadership Knoxville myself, the opportunity to participate in Youth Leadership Knoxville and allow youth to go through a similar program was very important to me. The lessons that I learned in Leadership Knoxville is something that is not just reserved for adults, but something that we can expose kids to at an early age. And the earlier we can get these lessons learned, the more productive they'll be in society.
I wanted to be a part of Youth Leadership Knoxville because I've seen some of the great leaders that it's produced in the Leadership Knoxville program. I'm a community service representative for my class and have been for 3 years, and I thought this was a great way to get more active in the Knoxville community and meet a lot more people and, just spread the love that YLK has.
So when I was in Leadership Knoxville, I learned a lot about building people. And through their facilitation services, we've worked really hard to build a strong team here for Knoxville and for the Knoxville Zoo. And building a strong team is just a building block for being a great community and how we're all connected. And that's a lot of what Leadership Knoxville helped do for me.
I handed out a small PowerPoint, and on the very back sheet, it talked about a suitcase drive that we do. It's called the Wheels of Hope. The Wheels of Hope is a suitcase drive that was started right after I got here at the agency to help the young people have suitcases to leave with their belongings. And so I really didn't think anything about it. In a few days, I got a few calls and we got deliveries.
We connect people of all ages to Knoxville's collective challenges and opportunities. At the end of the day, it's not about what you have or even what you've accomplished that truly matters. It's about who have you lifted up, who have you made better. It's about what you have given back to our community, and that's what Leadership Knoxville is all about.
A community is no better than its leaders. And what Leadership Knoxville is all about is training our community's leaders, the present leaders and the future leaders.
Being the type of leader that people want to follow is very difficult. We've all had leaders that we have to follow because they're our boss or because they're our parents or because they're the captain. But to be the type of leader people want to follow takes a servant's heart.
Being a servant leader means I try to bring the best of who I am to the moment. I try to collaborate with people who have also made that decision so that something gets better. And it's not about me. So servant leadership makes something or someone else better. And servant leadership, by doing that, makes you better.
The best part of being a servant leader is the satisfaction knowing you have helped others. You know, there's a saying, to whom much is given, people say, much is to be expected. That's not what the Bible says. It says, to whom much is given, much is required. Amen.
Vicki Fulmer was in the group that met that day, and when she left, she asked for one of my business cards and said, I'll be in touch. And then one day she called my cell phone and she said, I have some suitcases for you. And she said, do you remember me? And I was like, yes, I remember you. And I got so excited. And so she said, can we schedule a date to deliver the suitcases? And I said, that would just be awesome. So she scheduled a Saturday and we met here, and when I saw the 56 brand new suitcases, which we have 56 kids on campus, so that means every kid that's here gets a suitcase, I was just so excited. That just fills my heart more than anything I can say, because you'd have to really experience going through the steps with these young folks, interviewing these young folks, and hear them talk about how, and that may be all they have is what's in that black trash bag. That's everything these kids may own. So to think that we can give them a brand new suitcase to leave here with, wherever they may be going, to another foster home, to another residential space, they will always remember that people care enough to give them some hope.
We are called the volunteers for a reason. The greatest gift we can give is of our time, our talent, and our treasure to make Knoxville the best city to live, work, and play. Imagine what Knoxville will look like if we get it right. What will your leadership legacy be?
I'm going to ask Bill and Mintha, I believe, is here. John and Mintha is here as well. All right. Many years ago, Bill Arant, class of 1985, he had a vision to create a leadership award. That award was to recognize alumni from the program. And this is the 5th year of that award. Previous recipients are Tim Young, myself, Pat Summit, Jim Haslam, and Mintha Roach, who was last year's honoree. Today's Distinguished Alumni Award is being sponsored by UT Medical Center, and I would like to invite the Medical Center's Vice President of Community and Government Relations and member of the class of 1997, John Sheridan, to join me to announce today's winner.
Good. Another one of those great photos. The University of Tennessee Medical Center is very honored and pleased to sponsor again this year the Distinguished Alumni Award. The mission of Leadership Knoxville, as has been mentioned before, is to build a stronger Knoxville by developing people in groups and leading through a greater community. 31 years of alumni are gathered here today and have invested countless hours in one simple goal: to make Knoxville a better place to live, to work, and to raise a family. I can't imagine a better time than a gathering such as this to honor one of our very own. Our distinguished alumni honorees have all believed in leaving our community better than they found it, have modeled their leadership with trust, respect, a strong work ethic, and a talent for nurturing and mentoring others along the way. Our honorees exemplify this commitment to career, family, professional, and civic organizations, encouraging leaders to work together. The award that we present today is a sculpture of a glass hand holding a sphere etched with the skyline of Knoxville. The award symbolizes the city's vision and dreams, supported by the hand of a servant leader. The award is selected by the Board of Directors and the Alumni Advisory Council with the criteria of community stewardship, integrity, humility, and a desire to serve beyond oneself. Each of the 31 Leadership Knoxville classes have all claimed to be the best class ever, and that claim will continue. But the class that included this year's honoree has definitely raised the bar and set a standard for all of us to go forward. This class included a state senator, Bud Gilbert, and I think there may be a photo. 2 city mayors, Madeline Rojero and Bill Haslam, and now a governor. During the class year, this year's honoree donated blood, started learning about education through visiting with children in schools, and the best part of all, he made a trial run and took a trip to Nashville and visited the Capitol and had his picture taken on the steps outside the governor's office. Joining me to present this year's award is our 2014 Distinguished Alumni recipient, Mintha Roach. On behalf of the University of Tennessee Medical Center and the alumni of Leadership Knoxville, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present the 2015 Leadership Knoxville Distinguished Alumni Award to our former mayor and the 49th Governor of Tennessee, the Honorable Bill Haslam.
Thank you very much. Thank you, John. Please have a seat. Thanks. Mintha, are we good enough friends for me to ask you to keep holding that for a while? Good. All right. Well, several things, or just a few things, and then I will sit down. First of all, to this community that I love and call home and always will call home, and that I look forward to being back to in about 3.5 years, thank you. To my friend Kevin Johnson, who you're getting ready to hear from, you're in for a treat. Kevin and I live in different parts of the country. We're in different political parties, but I love what he does. He is a mayor who works really hard to change things, and one of those things is to make certain that his community is committed to the idea that every child can learn, regardless of zip code, regardless of background, that every child can learn, and that great education policy starts with putting students first. So you're going to love having Kevin speak to you. And to the to our current elected membership, our leadership, to Mayor Burchett, Mayor O'Hara, and council and commission, thank you for serving. It's you won't believe how many people come to Nashville and say, you know, we don't miss you all that much around there. Things are going really well, and I actually agree with that. And it is fun to watch our community do so well under current leadership. And then to my father, who was recognized as one of the founders. I actually remember when they had the first organization meeting at our house in the living room. I guess that had been 83 or 84. Dad and several others helped come up with this idea. But it is, I can't ever think about leadership and not think about my dad. He literally is the person that I think is the greatest person ever. And it is just such a... Lots of people think they have the greatest father in the world. I just happen to be right. But I have to tell you one story I was thinking about because when I ran for mayor the first time, there were a lot of people that said, well, you know, a lot of people have known Dad as Big Jim for a long time, said, well, you know, that'll be interesting. I bet this is just Big Jim really wanting to have his hand in one more thing in Knoxville. And so when I was running, I was a little sensitive to that, and I went out and knocked on a door. I was knocking on doors during the campaign, knocked on a door out in Fountain City, and this guy opened the door, and he goes, Haslam. He goes, you related to Jim Haslam? I said, yes, sir. And he said, that one who used to play football at UT? I said, yes, sir. And he goes, whatever happened to him? So no matter who you are, if you once played football for Tennessee, that's kind of who you still are. And the final thing I'll say is this. That was a great picture of at the state capitol. I actually had, I remember that trip really well. It was actually my very first exposure to the state capitol. And I told Madeline, we're sitting next to each other, I said when we walked into that, when our class walked in, I remember thinking, is this really the way it works? And now, however many years that is later, 23, wow, were we 11 when we were in that class, Madeline? 23 years later, I walk into the Capitol and think, is this really the way it works? But here's the last thing I'll say. Of everything you learn in Leadership Knoxville, I hope you come away with this. It really does matter who we elect to serve in a lot of different positions, and I mean that in all of our elected offices. There will always be people who get enough of their buzz from being involved in politics and running for office. There will always be plenty of people to run for office. I hope that you'll, regardless of what political party you're in, regardless of where you live or what you do, that you'll be committed to the idea that I'm going to go try to find people to run for office who fill out the characteristics that Leadership Knoxville is talking about. So thank you all very much. I've loved having the honor of being your mayor and loved being your governor, and I particularly love being able to call Knoxville home. Thanks so much.
All right, I next get to introduce our today's luncheon program sponsor. I need to share some information about this organization, though, because they're really an important partner with Leadership Knoxville. It is Scripps Network Interactive. You should see yes, they are a major supporter of Leadership Knoxville, being headquartered in Knoxville and having a global impact around the world, and being the #1 private business with the most Leadership Knoxville alumni. Scripps Network is a model company who values diversity and inclusion, both in their workforce and in their community. Their presence has created a strong impact on the local arts and culture scene of Knoxville. Not only do they attract the creative class with their programming, they also employ great minds behind the brands of Scripps Network Interactive. We are grateful for their presence and impact in our community and for their continued sponsorship of this event. As the Executive Vice President of Corporate Giving and Community Relations for Scripps Network Interactive and its portfolio of lifestyle media brands, HGTV, DIY Network, Food Network, Cooking Channel, Travel Channel, and Great American Country, this person is responsible for the creation and implementation of the company's philanthropic strategies at all levels throughout the organization, from local and civic involvement to national sponsorships and global initiatives. It gives me great pleasure to welcome an alumni of both the University of Tennessee and my Leadership Knoxville class of 2003, Jim Clayton.
Thank you, Tim. You know, some pictures should expire at some point in time. Scripps Networks Interactive is pleased to sponsor the 2015 Mayor's Leadership Luncheon. You know, the theme, as they've talked about, is servant leadership. You know, at SNI, I often describe my role as one that includes me helping make our communities better places to live, work, and play. And all three of those elements are important because you can't leave one of them off and still attract the best, brightest, and most diverse workforce. We often hear the term giving back used in our communities. You know, and as I've been in this role about a year and a half now, I like to think more in terms not of giving back, because to me that compartmentalizes things too much. I think to really make our communities the best we can make them, we have to participate in them. And that doesn't mean, okay, I get in the car and I go to work, and then maybe if I have a little time left, I can do something else. No, it's an integral part of the whole. It's part of everything that we do. And one of the things I'm trying to do at SNI is really get our people more and more involved in the community. You know, we can write checks, and you know, if you do that well, it does some good. But I just happen to believe that if we can get our people really involved in the community, that's what really makes the difference. You know, you've noticed the ad on the back maybe of the program there. Tim mentioned this. We've got more graduates of Leadership Knoxville than any other organization, which is something we're very, very proud of. You know, and some of those people are working in the community. Just to give you an example, Robin Ulrich's president of Tennessee Theater and past president of Habitat for Humanity. Janet Testerman's president of Dogwood Arts Festival and past president of Young Williams Animal Center. Annette Brune's past president of Knox Heritage and current vice president of Rebuilding Together Knoxville, which Rebuilding Together is one of our main partners with HGTV and DIY Network. Tawana Monroe Ward, professional mentor for the Leadership Knoxville Scholars Program and treasurer of the Knoxville chapter of the Links, which is a service organization for women. Jim Samples, past board member of KAUL and current board member of Airmont School of Arts. And Cynthia Gibson's immediate past chair of United Way Worldwide National Women's Leadership Council. Put that on a business card, right? And a founding member and former chair of United Way's Women of Tocqueville. And we have more employees actively involved in Knoxville as well as our other locations all around the world. And we hope this reflects our core value of shared responsibility. You know, here at the Mayor's Luncheon today, we're fortunate to have mayors that are actively involved in the economic development of our region. First, I'd like to introduce to you Knox County Mayor Tim Burchett. Mayor Burchett took office in September 2010 and was reelected to a second term last year. Among other things, he's been able to increase Knox County Schools funding by more than $50 million since taking office, reduce the county's debt by almost $70 million, pay cash for a new elementary school, which is not a bad policy to have, by the way, and partner with Governor Haslam to open the new Knox County Regional Forensic Center. Under his leadership, Knox County enjoys one of the lowest unemployment rates in the state. Mayor Burchett's worked hard to preserve historic structures previously owned by the county, including Oakwood Elementary School, historic Knoxville High School, Griffin Elementary School, and was able to put county-owned property into private hands in order for the Marble Alley development to get underway on State Street downtown. Before being elected mayor, he served 16 years in the state legislature. So I present to you Mayor Burchett.
Well, I told Jim his introduction would be longer than my speech, and I plan to keep it that way. I appreciate y'all allowing me to be here, and good afternoon. Let's try that again. I heard Chairman Armstrong. Good afternoon. All right. Thank y'all for coming to this year's Leadership Luncheon. I want to say a special thank you to Leadership Knoxville, for Tammy and Daryl for getting everybody in here on time. And I also would like at this point to recognize my beautiful bride, Kelly. Kelly, thank you for being here. And if you are a county-level elected official from Knox or surrounding counties, please stand to be recognized. All right. See a couple back there. And if you're an elected official at the state and federal level, please stand to be recognized. Chairman Armstrong, I know there's some others. Well, thank y'all so much for being here. Secretary Fox, I knew he was the real deal when he walked in to greet Mayor Rohero and I this morning. He took a phone call from his wife. He said, "Excuse me, I have a sick child." And I thought to myself, finally, somebody from Washington who has their priorities straight. Now, if he was here, I'd say a lot of nice things about him, but I did get the okay from Mr. Haslam. If he funds a couple of those road projects next year, this dinner will be in his honor. Is that correct, Mr. Haslam? All right. We all know how important that infrastructure is to us, and we're glad that he visited us. And Mayor Johnson, we're glad you're here with us. And I did notice, I want you to show the crowd when you get up on stage that your socks actually match Mayor Rohero's jacket. So at that point, I think I'm finished. I'm not sure who I'm supposed to introduce. Pass it back over to Jim. Thank you. I had to change my notes since the secretary left, so thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Mayor Burchett. Now I'm pleased to introduce City of Knoxville Mayor Madeline Rohero. Only it's kind of awkward because she's already been up here once, so anyway. She was elected mayor of Knoxville in 2011 and is currently seeking re-election to a second term. She was the first female from a metropolitan city in Tennessee to be elected to the office of mayor. Accomplishments during her first term of office include urban redevelopment. There's great momentum continuing downtown and in all directions. Business recruitment and development. Major announcements in the past few months from Total Quality Logistics, Hicks Plastics, Cirrus Aircraft. There's been 470 jobs that are associated with these announcements. She spearheaded the creation of the Knoxville Entrepreneur Center on Market Square, connecting startups with mentors and resources. Quality of life, major blight initiatives to address neglected or abandoned properties, investment in parks, greenways, sidewalks, and bicycle infrastructure. Support for arts and culture organizations, and created a new historic preservation fund to help save and renovate historic structures. Sustainability, Knoxville has become a national leader in energy efficiency, including the convention center that we're in now, the first LEED certified convention center in Tennessee. Now, this is important to SNI because about 4 years ago when we opened our new office structure, we got a gold LEED certification for our office building. Key to all these, is partnerships with private developers, investors, business owners, nonprofit groups, neighborhood organizations, the chamber, other governments, county, state, and federal. Collaborative leadership works, and that's what she's displayed by being in office. So, Mayor Rohero.
Well, hello again. And thank you, Jim, for that introduction. Jim, we appreciate everything that you and Scripps Networks has done for Knoxville. And it was great last year when we were able to celebrate the 20th anniversary of HGTV. But Jim, I was talking to the governor when you were talking about your class. Was it 2003? Is that right? Well, what we say is when the class of 1992, when any class, we challenge any class, governor and I challenge any class, when you can produce the state senator, 2 mayors, and a governor, then we can talk about who is the best class ever. So I want to say thank you to Mayor Burchett. We have a great working relationship, and we really do work together to get things done. And Governor Haslam, there's another great working relationship right there. Of course, I had the honor of working with the governor when he was mayor. And for the past 4 years, I can tell you it has been great for us in Knoxville to have a real friend in the governor's office. So thank you and congratulations again on your award. It's very well deserved, and you are the epitome of servant leadership. So before I introduce our keynote speaker, I do want to acknowledge just a few more partners. The one thing about leadership is that none of us can do it alone. So I have a great city council to work with. That's why I always say I love being mayor. I have a great staff and I have a great council. And several of them are here, so I want to invite our Knoxville City Council to stand up, please. And let's just recognize them. Also, if there are any other mayors from our area or elected officials who haven't been recognized, please stand now. Let's recognize them. So now, speaking of leadership and someone who really knows the value of teamwork, I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker. Kevin Johnson was born in Sacramento, California, and was a standout student athlete at Sacramento High School and then at the University of California, Berkeley. After graduating with a degree in political science, was that foreshadowing? He was drafted into the NBA. He played 1 season with the Cleveland Cavaliers and 11 with the Phoenix Suns. He was a 3-time All-Star and a 5-time member of all NBA teams. He founded a Sacramento nonprofit called St. Hope to promote urban revitalization through public education, civic leadership, economic development, and the arts. He served as its CEO until 2008, when he left to do something almost as exciting as professional basketball. He ran for mayor. He was elected the first African-American mayor of Sacramento and then re-elected in 2012. While in office, he has focused on public safety, economic development, sustainability, and reforming public education. In fact, U.S. Secretary of Education Arne Duncan asked Mayor Johnson to serve as chair of his Mayor's Advisory Council. I guess we first got to know each other through the U.S. Conference of Mayors, where Mayor Johnson is currently serving as president. We also both served on President Obama's Task Force on Climate Preparedness and Resilience. I also learned a little more about him from a former but still very devoted staffer who shared this with me. When KJ was a pro basketball player and would travel from city to city, he would make appointments with the smartest people in each city. It might be a Supreme Court justice or a CEO or an elected official. He'd want to know, what are you reading? What can you teach me? What do I need to know? By the time his basketball career was over, he had a full Rolodex of smart people with whom he had met. I think that's really fascinating, very impressive. There's a lot more I could say about him. For example, when he got married a few years ago, he had the good sense to come to East Tennessee to do it, there at Blackberry Farm. We know he's smart. But I think we have a video that will say a lot more than I could tell you. Can we roll that?
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Kevin Johnson from the University of California.
We proudly welcome and are honored to induct Mayor Kevin Johnson into the Sacramento Sports Hall of Fame.
In the quarter for Ellie and in your face, Kevin Johnson. Oh my! Oh, that's a highlight show. You'll be seeing that on your local newscast. Kevin Johnson. Look at the determination, intensity in this man's soul. Tell me how you feel. What's your fantasy? I see it's on the beach down in Mexico. You can put your feet up, be my senorita. We ain't gotta rush, just take it slow. You'll be in the highlights, soaking
honor of that, I thought I'd give him an introduction befitting to a star. You know we're 3.0 mayors, right? Standing 6'1", 180 pounds, southpaw from Columbia University via Pudaho High School in Honolulu, the point guard of Pennsylvania Avenue, the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama!
So now, for an introduction befitting to a star, ladies and gentlemen, standing 6 feet 1 inch, 180 pounds, shooting right-handed, from the University of California at Berkeley via Sacramento High School to the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Phoenix Suns, the President of the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the 55th Mayor and the point guard of Sacramento, California. Please welcome Mayor Kevin K.J. Johnson.
All right, that was funny. Thank you, Mayor. How are we doing? It's good to be in Knoxville. It's a beautiful community. I got in trouble when I did that introduction to the president, by the way. When I started bringing out my phone, all the guns started, Secret Service started aiming. I was like, no, relax. And whew, that was a close call. So, Mayor, thanks for inviting me. I'll get back to your great mayor here in a moment. I just want to say it's great to be here in the great city of Knoxville, home of the University of Tennessee Volunteers. As the mayor said earlier, I was smart enough to get married here. I tried to get married in Sacramento, and then the media went all crazy and didn't work out so well. So we quietly got married at Blackberry Farms, and I come back every year, which is kind of cool. Have y'all been to Blackberry Farm? The food there is really, really good. True story. That's when I first met the governor and his father at Blackberry Farms, and there was a Tennessee football game going on, and they were dressed from head to toe in their Tennessee gear and tried to outfit me in the Tennessee gear. I'm like, no, I'm good. Next thing you know, in my room, I got a hat, and I got the shorts, and I got the socks, and Jim wasn't cutting back at all on that. And Governor, I just want to say to you real quick, just thank you for your leadership. You guys are very fortunate. The governor and I, every time we get together here, we talk about how important it is to put education at the top of all of our agenda, because we as a community are not going to reach our potential if we don't do right by our children. So, Governor, thank you for your leadership. I appreciate you. Is Representative Joe Armstrong here? Joe? You got a good, see, Democrats and Republicans working together. You guys are living it out right here, a model for it. Joe, thanks for your leadership as well on all the issues. And I'm lucky enough to, all these people sitting at these tables are mayors. And I'm lucky enough to, I said, get married here. And a former mayor of Knoxville, Mayor Brown, I'm not sure if Mayor Brown is here. Is Mayor Brown? He crashed my wedding. Is that not the truth? You got invited? Who invited you? We had like 39 guests at the wedding, and the next thing I know, I'm like, who is that? And it was Mayor Brown. He's like, well, that's by executive order. I can go wherever I want. So, Mayor, thank you. Tim, thank you for your leadership, your lovely fiance. Tim wanted me to prove my socks do match the jacket. I thought you said your bride. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, your wife. How long y'all been married for? How long? 7 months. 10 months. Congratulations. Just give me the address to the nearest jeweler, okay? Congratulations on all 10 months. Well, I thought what I would do today is start off by just thanking your mayor, because she and I have gotten to know each other through the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and she asked me would I come and speak here, and I said absolutely. I have very fond memories, and before you know it, schedule conflicts, and I didn't think I'd be able to make it. And she called me up. She said, "Oh no, you're coming." I was like, "But you don't understand. I have a conflict." She said, "Oh no, you're coming." I said, "No, but no, really, I want to." But she said, "No, I've already invited 1,000 people." So your mayor is tenacious. So once I found out that I was honoring my commitment, whether I wanted to or not, I get another call from your mayor who says, Secretary Fox is going to be in Knoxville in the morning, and he's going to leave, but can you make him come by the lunch as well? So I just want to say I made good on two things that your mayor made me do. Give a round of applause for your mayor for her outstanding leadership. You definitely deserve 4 more, so we wish you the best as you do what you do, and I know this community is smart enough to do the right thing. I also want to congratulate Tammy White for her leadership and the 30th anniversary of Leadership Knoxville. How about one more round of applause for the staff and Tammy? All right, so what I thought I'd do is when I thought about Leadership Knoxville and it creates the 21st century leaders, it led me to start thinking about what a 21st century city looks like. And as many of you may know, I'm president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and my term ends, it's a 1-year term, it ends in San Francisco next month. And last year in my inauguration speech, I introduced the concept of a new era of American cities. And you see, American cities has transformed from one generation to next. And today we're entering an exciting new era that I call Cities 3.0. Cities 1.0 were built around ports, rivers, freight rail, and transportation routes. They served as centers for trade and commerce. Cities 2.0 came much later during the Industrial Revolution. Cities had factories and big industries, smokestacks and automobiles with electricity and transportation and modern services. They were the destination point for immigrants from around the world pursuing the American dream. And here we are today in what we call Cities 3.0. It's where cities are the hubs of innovation, of entrepreneurship, and technology. We are paperless, we're wireless, and we're cashless. There are more cell phones and landlines, more tablets than desktops, and more smart devices than toothbrushes. This truly represents a new era of American city. So I want you folks to know here in Knoxville, you guys are already doing it. And you got to just tell your story. And I'm going to connect the dots here in a moment. So when you think about a 3.0 city, the first question is, what role does a mayor play? And for me, the mayor must practice what I call open source leadership. What does that mean? It means that we as mayors look for the best solutions regardless of where they come from. We don't care if it comes from a Democrat or a Republican. We don't get caught up in partisan politics. We believe that the private sector can help solve public problems. If we believe, and we do, that business and labor together at the table makes a stronger table of conversation. Being an open source leader means we have to be proactive, pragmatic, and problem solving. We're not going to sit on our hands and wait for the feds or someone else to solve our problems. We roll up our sleeves, we get things done. We don't care about ideology or tradition. All we care about is what's best for our constituents. So that's what I mean by open source leadership, and your mayor represents that. So mayors in 3.0 cities are open source leaders, but what do city governments look like in a 3.0 community? And for me, a 3.0 city means a city has to be an ultimate service provider. Why? Because 3.0 citizens operate in a new paradigm. Listen to this vision of what a 3.0 paradigm looks like. In this generation, the world's largest music company will have no records, Apple. The world's largest bookseller will have no bookstores, Amazon. The world's largest taxi company will have no cars, Uber. It's only a matter of time before the world's largest hotel will have no hotel rooms, Airbnb. And very soon, the world's largest universities will have no campus. This means that we need to provide our city services with new platforms. In 2.0 cities, city crews, and I'm going to give an infrastructure example. City crews in a 2.0 city would drive around looking for reported potholes to fill them. In some cases, it would take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even months to fill those potholes. What does it look like in a 3.0 city? There'll be a pothole on your street. You pull out your smart device. You take a picture of it. You upload it through a city app. It will tag it with its GPS location, and providers throughout the city can instantly be dispatched to fill that pothole in the same day. It's quicker, it's easier, and it's more efficient. An active and a connected citizen become part of the city's network to solve problems. That's what a 3.0 city looks like. In addition to services, other things that are done in 3.0 cities around infrastructure. Think about this for a moment. In a 2.0 city, infrastructure were things like roads and bridges and tunnels. But 3.0 cities, you must make sure that cities provide the latest infrastructure along citywide Wi-Fi networks, broadband, fiber optics. They're hyper-connected. We must provide turnkey operations for startup companies, for office space to high-speed communications. The bottom line is, cities must provide services and infrastructure for residents and businesses that need to be quicker, more efficient, and faster. That's what a 3.0 city looks like. And the last example I wanted to give is, what does the next economy look like in a 3.0 city? It means, and you guys are doing it very well here in Knoxville, that means cities are going to create regional clusters. You can't just look at city limits. You have to look at your regional clusters. You have to play to your competitive advantage, bring along all citizens, including the most in need, economic development and job creation. In that spirit, we know that in order to keep a modern era, we must be innovative. If cities are going to drive the revitalization of the nation, we need to make sure that cities continue to become the laboratory and the incubators of change. We must be the engine driving our local, our regional, and national economy. We have to have a resilient economy, able to weather the storms of recession and depression. You guys know who Tom Friedman is, the renowned columnist? I'm sure all of you read some. You may not agree with him here as much in this community, but he wrote an article titled, "I Want to Be a Mayor." And he gave examples of cities from around the country that were doing hard work to grow their economy. New York City, they created applied science campuses to spur on innovation. Denver and Los Angeles put up tax dollars for large-scale transit investment. Cities like Miami, Chicago, Jacksonville, Dallas, and local leaders are leading the modernization of ports and airports and freight rail. A network of economic development organizations in Northeast Ohio is helping manufacturing firms become more innovative and relevant, retooling their factories for new demand using both federal dollars and sizable investment from philanthropies. This is what we mean by public-private partnerships working together. You guys are no stranger to that. There's great work going on across the country, but thanks to the mayor's leadership here in Knoxville and many of you in the room, some of the best examples of 3.0 innovation are happening right here in Knoxville. Knoxville is thinking beyond city limits. I believe you have Knoxville, you have Oak Ridge, you have 13 counties and 59 cities. They care, all of those leaders care about how we get access to the next generation of skilled workforce. How do we create a high quality life for everybody? How do we make sure that we have 21st century infrastructure? Knoxville has a regional economic development effort called Innovation Valley, which brings together local governments, chambers, and business leaders. Together, they are leveraging existing resources like the Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the University of Tennessee to attract new business and help existing businesses expand. The Knoxville region also is taking a leading role in the additive manufacturing, the third industrial revolution, using 3D printing and materials technology are being developed locally. Because of this effort, your region has recently been designated as a manufacturing innovation hub by President Obama. Congratulations, Knoxville. And Knoxville, my last example, recently received Smarter Cities grant from IBM, which brought a team of IBM experts to town for 3 weeks to study the persistent problem, energy inefficiency and low-income housing. The problem leads to high utility bills, and it's very difficult for tenants to pay. Using IBM's team's recommendation, the city, the power company, and nonprofit social service agencies identified residents in need to secure funding for sources for weatherization projects. This led to a $7 million grant from Tennessee Valley Authority to pay for weatherization for low-income residents. This will cut utility bills, create jobs, and lessen the carbon footprint. That's 3.0 Knoxville. And you can see these 3 examples all around your region. You guys are a leader in innovation, and you're creating a regional economy, something that the rest of the country is envious of. The bottom line here, and I'd like to address this to all the elected officials in the room and all those who support electeds in one way or other. We are in a great time to be a mayor in American City. Mayors play critical roles, and I know the governor loves his job today, but being a mayor is a pretty cool thing. It used to be the federal governments who would look at states and they would set the state agenda, and then the cities were the children waiting for their allowance. We flipped that construct on its head. There's an inversion of power now. Cities are now the leaders in the nation. We're experimenting, we're taking risks, and we're making hard choices. In Cities 3.0, as I said earlier, mayors are open source leaders embracing good ideas, whether they come from the left or the right. Cities have to be the ultimate service provider, ensuring that citizens are getting the high quality level of service that they deserve. And lastly, we have to position our communities as the next economy to be able to compete globally. We don't want to wait on Washington to solve our problems. We don't point fingers. We don't have time to deal with the bickering that goes back and forth between Democrats and Republicans. We don't have that luxury. We have the responsibility to get things done at the local level. Cities are where the rubber meets the road, and mayors are the action heroes who have to make it happen. I am truly honored and humbled to be here today to speak to Knoxville and this great region for all the great work Tammy and all the leaders in the room are doing. I look forward to partnering with you on the exciting new era of Cities 3.0. I think the future is now, and the future is bright here in Tennessee. And I guess I'll close with this. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. God bless you.
This is the point where, as the facilitator in terms of time management, we have to kind of adjust a bit, and we do have time for probably 2 questions, if someone would have any questions for Mayor Johnson, and we'll have to help get recognition of, because we can't see with the lights up here. I think someone's got a microphone bringing, yeah.
Yes, Mayor, could you describe how you would compare and contrast the leadership that you needed on the court with the leadership you need running a city?
His question was, can I compare and contrast the leader in my basketball world days versus politics? Did I get that right? So I knew that basketball was a contact sport. It's a physical sport. You get down to paint, people throw elbows. I didn't realize that politics was equally as much as a contact sport. You can go into a community meeting and see the little old ladies sitting in the front row glaring at you, and they have some of the sharpest elbows one would imagine. So contact sport similarity. The other thing in terms of an athlete, I was a point guard, and as a point guard, you have to have a goal, and all your teammates, rally behind that goal to win a championship or make a playoffs. And there's one basketball, and you have to make 12 very big guys happy, which is hard to do. In politics, you have to have a vision, and you have to get your constituents behind that, and you have council members, and you have to make all your constituents happy. So there's a lot of skills and things that transfer from politics to basketball and vice versa.
We have time for one
His question was, who's going to win the playoffs? Memphis, of course. That's being a politician. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson, for sharing your vision and providing us with more of your perspective on Cities 3.0. You know, as I heard his description, I listened carefully, and he echoed a lot of things that are very favorable that are happening in our community, and it is the result of a lot of work and collaboration among a large number of leaders, not only our elected officials, but them combined with private and other partnerships across our organization. And I like to think about the content, the program content, the curriculum, if you would, that Leadership Knoxville supports each year and is very deliberate about each year on the basis of what our community's needs are and what we are trying to achieve, and ensuring that those issues are elevated such that class participants and others can really begin to be more educated and informed and take action. And so a number of things that were mentioned were this open source leadership, networks of services and infrastructure. And as you think about your Leadership Knoxville experience, whenever it was, 15 years ago, and my example are some of which were 30 years ago, there are core aspects of this program that have served over the test of time to reinforce the importance of and the critical nature of leadership skills across a broad spectrum of people. So loved a lot of your remarks. I think it echoed a number of things that we're teaching within the program. I need to recognize a few folks as I wrap up today. First, I'd like to also thank Jim Clayton and Scripps Network Interactive for sponsoring our luncheon today. Our sincere thanks, as always, to Mayors Madeline Rojero and Tim Burchett for hosting this luncheon for the 6th year. We're happy that you are a participant in this important process. There are a few slides here that will recognize some other folks as well. First Tennessee Foundation, our graduation sponsor. UT Medical Center, who is our Distinguished Alumni Award sponsor today, and all of these generous table sponsors who allow each of you to be here as well today. Another slide that recognizes a number of significant players in this process today as well includes the new Sentinel, Knoxville Convention Center, Bandit Lights, Tenova, Pure Line Printing, and Nancy Barger with Hunter Valley Farm, who created these beautiful centerpieces, of which they will all be donated to Random Acts of Flowers following the event. Again, we would be remiss to not thank and to recognize our presenting sponsors of the program itself, and those are Clayton Bank, the Haslam Family Foundation, and Scripps Network Interactive. Without these organizations, Leadership Knoxville as we know it today wouldn't exist. I want to kind of wrap up by saying as well, congratulations to this class of 2015. You are to be congratulated for the experience that you've had this year. I know you all are excited. I've talked to a number of you. And lastly, just a quick plug. Frank, you'll be happy that I inserted this because Frank's pretty modest as he relates to this Volunteer Knoxville, but Volunteer Knoxville was an organization that was created last year in celebration of the 30 years for Leadership Knoxville. If you've not taken time already to go on that website and register, please do so. It's a very important connection, as you saw in the video, that Leadership Knoxville wanted to give back to that community, to the community. It does not serve just Leadership Knoxville, but all organizations who need volunteers across the region. So would also like to just put a plug in there to enroll for Volunteer Knoxville. Thank you all for your generous support of our organization, and thanks for joining us today. We've got 2 minutes and we're on time, so Tammy, it worked logistically. All right. Thank you. Be careful as you leave, and please be sure to speak to others. Thank you.